So we're continuing our theme of beginner's heart. We're using the book Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And last week we talked about being present in the moment, that the only place to experience enlightenment, wakefulness is in the moment. And the way we get anchored in the moment is our body, because our body doesn't live in the future or in the past. Our body lives always right now. And so the constant awareness of where is my body right now? Where's my breath right now? And that immediately brings us here. And that eternal now, which includes all the past and all the future, that can be experienced, but it can only be experienced now, in this wonderful spaciousness of now. So that was right practice. And this week we're doing right attitude, the attitude of gratitude. So as I was going through I didn't know what I was going to say. I've been rereading the book for the millionth time. And as I was reading through all my notes, I was like, oh my gosh, this is affirmative prayer. It's fantastic. That's the right attitude. So how many of you are familiar with affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment in some form or capacity? So most of you in some way. So some of you weren't, so I'll just, we have in Science of Mind, it's very similar to Unity and New Thought, because the principles are the same. We have something called affirmative prayer, and even within our teaching, we can always make it more complicated. But in the most basic form, there's 5 steps. And they all make rational sense. We begin with step 1, which recognizes that God is all there is. There's one power, one presence in, through, and as all creation, and then the second step is unification, and we are one with it. We are made in the image and likeness of God. There is no separation. There is no other. And then from that place of unification, recognition, God is, I am, we move into the realization, and we use our words to claim and accept, to co-create in that spiritual presence, energy, vibration, that which we want to start seeing formed in the world. We feel it, we sense it, we give thanks for it, and that's the 4th step, giving gratitude, and the 5th step is release. How does this relate to Zen attitude? The attitude of Zen. Zen is always about right now. It's not about being anywhere else than in this moment. And when we are in this moment, we are always accepting things just as they are. We don't come into this moment with a preconceived idea, because that would be our human relative mind, whatever it is, whatever concept we have. So the idea with Zen is to breathe and let go, and just with every breath, just be present to whatever is, and whatever is spirit, is the divine presence. And so we feel this divine presence, and that we are it, that this breath, this presence that is arising every moment is who we are. And so that we are naturally, over and over he says, stop trying to be someone else, stop the comparing, that's all relative mind. Just by breathing and being one in spirit, we are naturally ourselves. So I'm standing up here and I'm holding the microphone and doing whatever. Any one of you gets up here and holds this microphone, you're going to have different gestures. The way you hold it's going to be different. The way you talk is going to be different. It is absolutely impossible for any of us to come up here and be the same. And we would make ourselves miserable trying to talk like somebody else in the room. And that's his point, that we can't help but be ourselves. It doesn't require effort. It requires just this constant awareness of what's arising moment to moment. And for him, that begins on the meditation pillow, just breathing. And just even the way you sit on that pillow, you're saying even the way you sway back or forth, that's going to be a unique thing to you. It's not right or wrong, it's just something that you uniquely do. And then when you stand up from that pillow, you're beginning to express you. So I love this. So from the beingness that is always arising moment by moment, we start with our body and our breath. See, the moment we start acting, we're in the motion of creating. We're creating the moment we start moving, and we're creating and expressing who we are. So if we're just going to go make our bed, that's an act of expression of who we are. It's a natural and effortless expression of who we are. If we're going to go cook a meal, as he points out, we're not cooking a meal to prepare to eat it. The cooking itself is the action, is the creative expression. Whatever we're doing is that beautiful expression of who we are. It's not a preparation for another moment. And this is so vital on our spiritual journey, because just in the fact that we call it a spiritual journey implies that we're trying to get somewhere. And I think that is I can't speak, I never spent time in Japan or on the East, but I think it's a very Western view, is always something in the future that we're working towards to get. So we're always sort of futurizing, even in the day. There was a whole movement for a while that was talking about our children are our gifts now, because so many times we would say our children are our future. And they're like, no, they are now. They are fully beautiful just as they are now. It's not like they become more relevant 10 years from now. They're totally and completely relevant just as they are right now. And we are works in development as well, but we are completely whole, perfect, and complete right now, not just at the end of the service when you will be fully enlightened. But right now in our partial enlightenment. No, I'm kidding. So enlightenment is oneness. Just so we're clear, enlightenment is his word. In New Thought, we would say it's knowing our oneness and union in God. If we are completely awake in our oneness and union in God, recognition and unification, sometimes those are stages we tend to jump over. But when we are in that place, we are enlightened. And from that always already enlightened awareness, we express ourselves. He points out that the problem comes when we just try to jump to realization stage, the creation stage, and forget the first two steps. So we start saying, I created this, meaning Harriet or whoever created this, and not just it's created. He said whenever we use the I, and he's talking about the small I here, whenever we use the I, that's extra. Because when we are in that I am, the big I, the God is, there's only one here. There's not just special old Harriet over here. It's all one. I'm just being. I'm just expressing, but it's not me, Harriet, doing it. And that's a wonderful, peaceful awareness. And this is why when people start doing Zen and practicing Zen, we tend to start lightening up, because we let go of all the struggle of, I have to do this. I have to make my world better. I have to do this. We are in it. We are as it. We are living it. And we are not making anything happen. We are becoming one with it moment by moment, breath by breath. In this very moment, you are not creating this moment. I'm not creating this moment. This moment simply is. And we all are experiencing it in our own personal and unique expression. How awesome is that? When we really start to be fully with the presence of that moment, we feel the fullness of life. And this is the paradox that Zen is constantly talking about, that we want to be fully empty in every moment, fully empty. That's not, it kind of fits that. By letting go of all preconceived ideas, allowing ourselves to be clear and empty vehicles, we actually experience the fullness of spirit. When we don't experience the fullness of God's infinite good, and let's remember in New Thought, what we know is that this good is infinite, it has no opposite, it's love, it's beauty, it's harmony. We can experience the fullness of the present moment when we're available. But when we come in with our story, when we come in with what just happened, we block it. We're not fully present to the good that's arising moment to moment, because we have all this other stuff going on in our head. We're living somewhere else. We're living in the past, we're living in the memory, we're living in the future of what we're going to do just when we leave here, where are we going to go eat. I have no idea where you're going to eat. We're not fully appreciating this moment. So this is why Zen, this is beautiful. So our prayer treatment is enlightenment itself if we live it, if we allow ourselves to feel that realization step. And there was another aspect he writes in this section about our problems. And I just love this section. He said, when we have problems, we try to fix them or resolve them rather than just let the problem sit us. One power, one presence. I am one with it. As I am one with it, right now I'm experiencing a problem. I just allow that problem to be in this presence. I don't try to fix it. I don't try to push it away. I don't try to solve it. I just am in the presence and let that problem be in the presence and the presence in the problem. And he says the problem sits zazen. The problem sits in the meditation. And what happens is as he points out, is when we start to do that, we start to not have a problem because it's not our problem anymore. See, all of this stuff, we take the things that we struggle with throughout our day, through our week, the deep stuff, and I think I've shared some stuff with Shunryu Suzuki. He's had some very, very painful and difficult things in his life. So this isn't just like, oh, this is a guy who's had an easy life. He hasn't. For those of you who don't know, his first wife was murdered. He lived a lot of times doing things that he didn't particularly want to do, but he was asked to do because you had to follow orders. But that wasn't the story that he brought into moment to moment, because it wasn't his story. His story was the I am. God is bigger than all of that. And every breath, as he was freeing himself from that moment and going into God is, I am, which is new thought language, but for him it was just the breath. It was just beingness. It's just being present fully in this moment. He wasn't carrying this whole story with him. I didn't want to do this, so I'm not going to, it's so hard. And, the story that comes, he just let it go. That was the past. Now is a completely new moment. This is what I am now, right now. Accepting, and I've said it last week, I'll say it this week, and I'll say it for the next 2 weeks. The thing he says over and over and over is accept things as it is. Accept things as it is. That's allowing, and that's the emptiness. When we come in to each moment and it's not right, this moment isn't the way it's supposed to be because there's pain and there's not supposed to be pain. This moment is not the way it's supposed to be because whatever reason I had in my mind of how it was supposed to be, and it's not matching up to that. As he talks about, the suffering is between the ideal and the actual. That gap is the suffering. So my ideal for this moment and what it actually is not matching up, and I'm in pain. And what he's saying is that's when your practice is too idealized. Accept things as it is, and suddenly you're free. And that's when you can start to allow new things to come in, new healing, new ways of singing, because now you're open and available to it. We are not open and available to it if we are stuck with our attached idea of what this moment's supposed to look like. Joel Goldsmith, when doing his healing work, would say the hardest thing he had to do with people is not what they wanted to get over, the bad stuff that they wanted to get over, financial challenges, health challenges. He said the hardest thing that he had to work with people is what they were attached to, the good they wanted. He said they were so attached to that, they just could not be present with what is, with what was arising in the moment, and they were shut off from that moment, and that shut them off from the divine presence. If what we want is the divine presence more than anything, even the things that we consider good, then we can enter into this moment fully available. For those of you who were here last week, remember when we did the good talking and the bad talking and the seeking mind and that already arrived, that it's all of it. It's arriving into the moment, accepting all of it. That becomes a freedom, a joy. Our face starts to lighten up. We start to just accept things as they are, and that's when the allowing starts to happen, and we accept new ways of seeing that we couldn't see because we were stuck in our story before. So we have God, recognition, unification. God is I am, and I create. The I am, not my small self, is creating simply by expressing moment to moment, being free in every moment. And we feel that joy, and we feel the infinite possibility in every moment. It's never been limited. It has no past precedent. So it's completely free. We might be stuck. It's never stuck. It's never hurt, harmed, or endangered. It's never afraid. It is always alive, awake, vital, full of love. That's what is available to us every moment. So we automatically give thanks. We're living the attitude of gratitude. We're feeling the joy of what is in that moment, even if it hurts, because we feel there's something underneath. When we sit in the pain, if there's a problem and it's hurting, even there is the presence of God, and that becomes a reality, not just a concept. Why I love Zen is because sometimes in New Thought, it can be so conceptual. And with Zen, because you're in your body, you're in the present moment, you're breathing, it's becoming you. It's not just a concept that there's something greater than whatever the problem is. And that's why it's so paradoxical. That's why we have such a hard time with it. Because it acknowledges the dark side. He even says that even with your practice. He says if you only think your practice is going to be good, you only do it for joy, then you're missing the other side of it, which is it's no good. It's not fun. It doesn't bring the stuff that you want to bring it. There's always a shadow side. As long as your mind's going back and forth between good and bad, even your practice will have it. But when you start to accept everything as it is, there's an automatic gratitude, even when the things don't look like the way you want them to look, because you, as he says, you keep breathing and you realize there's something underneath it. We start to become aware of this oneness, not just a oneness in concept, but an actual living, breathing oneness that is always, always, always there, always loving us. It's our rock. It is our rock of peace, of love, and of joy, no matter what is happening in our life. It is always there, and we have the ability to experience it. Recognition, unification, realization, gratitude, and then release. For him, release was so big. You have to completely let go of that moment that just was and arrive in the moment completely free. The teacher he quotes all the time, Dogen Zenji, said, the purpose of Buddhism is to study ourselves, and the purpose to study ourselves is to forget ourselves. We need to constantly be letting go, release it, be free of it, because we can't move into the next moment without preconceived ideas if we're still holding on to the last moment. And we say that in treatment. You've got to let it go. Once you've claimed and seen who you really are, what you're experiencing, then just let it go. Don't hang on to it. And then in the next moment, you're breathing in this new life, this new way of seeing, and it's responding. We also have this thing called the law that's responding to that knowing that you had, but you are not in control of it. You just let it go. Let the law take care of it. It's got it. You're good. You're taken care of. Let it go. Move into the next moment and allow that law to do its work and accept the good of that moment. This is ceaseless prayer. The right attitude, Zen practice and ceaseless prayer, when we look at it from an affirmative prayer, I'm just like, that's amazing. It's deep. Oneness. One power, one presence. Not just conceptually. In our body, in our breath, every moment. Be free. We don't have to try to be anybody else. We don't even have to try to be ourselves. We don't compare ourselves to anyone else. We just breathe. We let go of all this personal I, small I, Harriet, me, myself, and just let go. It's not about Harriet. It's about one. In this room, it's only about God right now. It's only about this one power, one presence, and we are all absolutely beautiful, unique emanations of this one. There's no better, there's no worse. There's just every one of us unique and different, and we celebrate our diversity even as we feel our oneness. And we celebrate our diversity through that realization step, our expression, our gratitude, and our release. I've mentioned before I don't remember when I did those talks on Phil Jackson with the basketball team. This was the book that he loved, Zen Mind, Beginner Mind. He gave this to Michael Jordan and to the Chicago Bulls because he was asking them to get out of their egos. He was saying that this team is run too much by star power. We can't move into oneness until you let go of this sense of ego. We got to move into a team, into that oneness place. And he was using Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind to get him into that state of just allowing. I am no professional basketball player. I know that's a shock. But the very first time I read this book, I've mentioned this before, but it's still because I remember it so clearly because I was being so present. You know, when we're really present, we remember it. I was reading it, and I went to play racquetball. I didn't add any knowledge. I didn't read any books. I didn't talk to anybody. But I was just in my body. I was breathing. I wasn't trying for anything. I wasn't trying to win. I was just trying to practice breathing. I was actually focused more on what I had just read about my body and the breathing. And I played the best game of racquetball. I mean, it was like leap years how I had played the day before. And there was no difference other than now I was present. I was present to that moment and the infinite intelligence that is always good, suddenly was moving through me without me having to control it or figure it out or know what was happening. That's what we're going for here. Not just to be fully awakened to that oneness, but that oneness is infinitely good. It has it wants to express its highest joy as us, because it is us. It wants us to know joy, to know love, to know peace. And it can't move through us if we're attached. If we say, no, this is the way it needs to look. I've gone through that. This is the way I'm supposed to be in the world. And I block. There's a wall. I can't move through a wall. But if I say, okay, that was my idea, I let it go, I surrender, then I allow this new life to move through. Ceaseless prayer. Are we in prayer right now? Are we in prayer right now? Because we're present with whatever's arising and accepting with whatever is arising. We get comfortable with the negative. And by that I mean we have to, when we feel pain, when we feel sadness, it doesn't freak us out anymore because we know we're more than that, so we can be present with the pain. The reason why pain freaks us out so much is because we start to think that's who I am. I think that pain owns me, that story owns me, and it's who I am, and I walk around with this story, and I think everybody in the world can see it. There was someone, when was this? Oh, I know. Yeah, so I was talking with someone who's just been through a really difficult time. And I was with her, and I was listening to her, the story. And as I was listening, all I could see was her beautiful soul. I mean, she was just brilliant light. She was in so much pain. I can't say that out loud to her because she's in so much pain, and I was honoring her pain. I mean, respecting it. Sympathy is where you go, oh, I'm so sorry, and you believe it. Like, I'm so sorry, your life does suck, or whatever your pain is, and there is no hope. Empathy is saying, I hear you, I feel your pain, and I can even cry with you, but I know that's just a moment. I know it's passing because I see who you are. I see that I am. I see that God is, and that's not just a thought, a concept. I actually literally feel your light. Even in the midst of your pain, I can see this extraordinary light. That's enlightenment. That's who we are all of the time. That's the life of ceaseless prayer. So let's pray. Ceaselessly.